Hello, it's Friday and welcome to your weekly update. This week, let's start by talking about two stories that tie together. So that's the botched launch of the NVIDIA 50 series that continues to be an issue. We're seeing multiple news outlets now talk about the fact that there's less than 50, in some cases, 5090 series graphic cards that got delivered to major retailers in the US. It seems that Europe and the UK had the same kind of story where, you know, the big distributors just didn't get any stock of this item at all. So it very much turns out to be a paper launch and seems to be a knee-jerk reaction to the need to have these GPUs out there because of these AI models and the drive that NVIDIA was doing towards we are the only company that can do AI and do it well and give you the raw horsepower you need to do it. The story that ties into that is that DeepSeek continues to cause massive issues for the industry in terms of not only the disruption it's doing to the stock prices for companies like NVIDIA, but it's also causing the US government to react in strange ways, talking about trying to ban it and do these things. Ultimately, it's open source code. You're not going to kill it off. We've seen this tried with games emulation in the past and Nintendo doing it, and you kill one emulator and another one springs up off a release chain. So you're never going to really get around that. But what we are seeing is disruption in that AI space, which can only be a good thing. Obviously, as I mentioned last week, using something like DeepSeek for anything that is business information is hugely risky, and there's been a number of YouTube videos that have come out of people showing kind of even the offline version, the potential risks of that, and I'm not going to go into great detail. All I'm saying is great for if you're doing AI testing in a controlled, safe environment using dummy data, but don't put business data into it. Outside of that, Microsoft have been dropping these kind of a recap of 2024 for all of their 365 applications. It kind of marks the wrap up for 2024 for Microsoft ahead of some major changes coming to the applications in 2025, starting with that kind of logo rebrand that we've seen with the new Microsoft 365 app logo sort of starting to drop through. I expect to see major changes kind of being announced March onwards. We've seen some small changes coming to Teams and to Copilot, and some Intune interface changes that dropped in January and will kind of continue on through February. But major changes later in the year, and obviously when we do our workshops later in the year, we'll cover as much of those as we can. We are now less than a week out from the live hack experience that we are running in Oxford at the Curzon Cinema. All the seats are taken. It is fully occupied. I've got some good news on that next week, but I'll save that for next week because I don't want to ruin it. But I'm super looking forward to what that event means. Having gone through the full completed experience and made sure that it all comes together and makes sense, I'm really overwhelmed by the feedback that we've been given from the internal testing about how that looks and feels compared to a real experience. So I'm looking forward to everyone who's coming to join us experiencing that and getting the most out of that day. I think it's something that will be super valuable for anyone who is in a business role or an IT role to try and experience a disaster without actually having to go through it. And then, as I've mentioned every week, the Education Roundtable, it's getting bigger, it's getting better. I've got more panelists to announce. I've got some really cool things coming, and I'm just waiting for some social media posts, so I'm going to save those. But watch my socials. I think it'll be something that you'll want to see. And it does make that event even bigger, better, and bolder than ever before. And that is now, you know, I think it's about a month away, actually. We're literally a month away yesterday. So it is so cool to be getting close to these events, and it will sort of trigger the start of what will be the seasons of workshops, which will come towards sort of the May time, and more content. We are driving forward this year, trying to do more, bigger and better, and make really the most of what we can do. So that's my wrap up for the week. I will catch you next week for the next weekly update. So until then, goodbye.